Ash here, and today there is a bit of a story behind this video. Basically, I was going to do a video about my all-time favourite film, but I just couldn't pick one. I like too many films over too many different genres to be able to pick an all-time favourite. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my favourite films over a whole bunch of different genres. So rather than drinking out of this cup, I'm going to be picking film genres out of the cup to tell you my favourite film from that genre. Now, some of these can only be very loosely described as genres. They are more collections of films, but I wrote them myself and I basically just really wanted to talk about a particular film in that genre. So, hey, there you go. It's my video, I'll run it however I want. There are 20 film genres in here, so let's get on with it. Make sure they're all muddled up. Right. First, we have... This is so hard to do with one hand. I'm going to have to put the cup down. Favorite musical. That's easy. My favorite musical is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I adore Rocky Horror. I've loved it for as long as I can remember. I've seen Rocky Horror Show live twice. I did dress up. It was very fun. And basically, Rocky Horror is one of those movies that I will sit down and I will always enjoy no matter what. It's so much fun. I really love it. Favorite coming of age film. I don't watch a lot of coming-of-age films, but my favourite one is Perks of Being a Wallflower. I remember I saw it with a whole bunch of my college friends, and I just really loved it. I liked the story. I'd already read the book as well, but when I read the book and watched Perks of Being a Wallflower, it was at a time in my life when the story really spoke to me. I know that's a really generic thing to say, but it has stuck with me all this time, and it's a really... I'm not going to say lovely film, but it is a film that will speak deeply to a lot of people that are either going through similar things or even are just at a similar age to the main characters. Favorite Takashi Miike film? Easy. That's Audition. It is the first Takashi Miike film that I ever watched. It is the best Takashi Miike film that I have ever seen personally. I really like the way that the first 2/3 of the film are a very generic romance story, and then as the themes of the film get darker, the film gets darker itself. I love all of the artistic choices that have been made. For example, as the film delves into a more psychological horror kind of feel, the lighting in the film gets redder and redder as the horror progresses. It's one of the best horror films that I've ever seen. I really love it, and I will just talk about it for like hours on end, so I'm gonna have to stop myself here. Favorite DC film? Wonder Woman. There's no competition for me. I think that is the best film that DC has released in forever. I'm talking live action films here as well. But Wonder Woman for me, I really enjoyed it. Favorite fantasy film? My favorite fantasy film is The Lord of the Rings, and I mean the entire 3 movies that make up The Lord of the Rings, so Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. I have been a Lord of the Rings fan for as long as I can remember. My granddad used to read me Lord of the Rings as a bedtime story. I went to see every single Lord of the Rings movie in the cinema. I have seen all of the extended editions. I really think it's a good and mostly faithful adaptation. I like the stylistic choices that have been made. I like the way all the characters look. I love those films. And again, I can just sit and watch them whenever. It's never going to bother me that I've watched them 100 times. Favorite Disney live action? I don't know why I wrote this because I don't really watch the Disney live action films. I think they're kind of a cop-out. And they should really be making like new movies rather than remaking old movies in live action. But if I had to pick, I guess I would pick High School Musical. I don't know if that counts, but the High School Musical series as a whole is something that I grew up with, and I was so excited when the first one came out. I made my auntie record it off the TV onto a videotape so that I could watch it whenever I wanted, and it was just one of those movies. It was like the biggest craze. I think I must have been maybe 10 when it came out, 10 or 11. I was definitely in like primary school, and I loved it. I would sit and watch it all the time, and yeah, I'd still sit and watch it now, to be honest with you. I think it's a great, cheesy little musical that is always really enjoyable. Favorite adaptation? My favorite adaptation is kind of an odd one. I don't think a lot of people would pick this as their favorite adaptation, but I really like Les Mis, the musical with Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe. I have read the book. I do not recommend that anyone else reads the book because it is like this thick, and there are like 60 pages about the bishop at the beginning before we even get to Valjean. It's very odd, but I love the film. I love all of the songs, I love the music, I love the way it's shot and blocked. I think almost everyone does a really good job with their characters, and I'd happily sit and make myself miserable watching it all the time. Favorite horror comedy? So, my favorite horror comedy is kind of an odd one. It is a film called Stage Fright. It's on Netflix, and it is a horror comedy musical. Turns out I like quite a lot of musicals. This one is set at a summer camp for musical theatre students. It stars Meatloaf and Minnie Driver. It's got some very Phantom of the Opera vibes, but basically everyone in it sings in that very typical musical theatre style. It's all very clean, it's all very bright, but then the villain sings in heavy metal style with guitars and screaming, and I think it's a good contrast. I had an absolute whale of a time watching this movie for the first time. I've since seen it 3 more times. Even though I know what happens, I know who the killer is, I love it. It's a mashup of musical, comedy, slasher, horror, and that just ticks all of the boxes for me. Favorite feel-good film? Oddly enough, it's another musical. My favorite feel-good film is Mamma Mia. I really like ABBA's music, so I think I was always destined to like Mamma Mia, but it's a really nice plot. It's a really odd plot because it can literally be solved with a DNA test, but I like the fact that it kind of suspends your disbelief enough, and it's one of the reasons why I have this epic fantasy of just running away and leaving my life behind and moving to a Greek island. This one just says free swim. Oh, I remember why it says free swim. Basically, I needed to make this up to a round number, so I just put free swim on as the last one, because I had 19 and I needed 20. So I guess I'll just recommend you guys a film, and I will recommend Attack the Block. It is a kind of coming of age, kind of action, kind of sci-fi movie where a bunch of aliens attack a block of flats in London, and it's how a group of teenage boys deal with this. And it's really good. It's kind of a comedy as well as all of the other genres that I've listed, and the humor is actually funny. It doesn't feel forced. The way the characters interact is very realistic, and I think more people should watch it. It is John Boyega's film debut, and if you like John Boyega at all, go and watch Attack the Block, because he is the best thing about Attack the Block. Favorite Disney film? Beauty and the Beast. Absolutely, without a doubt, it is Beauty and the Beast. I adore that film. I love the animation, I love the songs, I love the story, and I'm really disappointed by the live action remake because, hey, it was kind of perfect as it is. Favorite non-Disney Western animated film? Oh boy. Okay, so my favorite non-Disney animated film is a film called Help, I'm a Fish, and it's about a boy and his cousin and his sister who get turned into fish and then have to chase an evil fish to become not fish again. I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, and the reason for that is, for the longest time, I thought I had made this movie up. No one else I knew had ever heard of it, and I was starting to think that I had dreamt it. But no, it does exist. It's another musical, and the songs are really good. It has Alan Rickman voicing the evil fish, whose name escapes me, and his song is really fantastic as well. Favorite Marvel film? Thor Ragnarok. I love Thor. I love Taika Waititi's directing, and Thor Ragnarok has a level of humor that I feel like a lot of Marvel movies are lacking, so that's why I love Thor Ragnarok. Favorite thriller? Now, this is a hard one for me because I do like a lot of foreign thriller films. However, I've actually chosen a Western movie as my favorite, and that is Stoker. It is a Park Chan-wook directed film. It is written by Wentworth Miller, and it is surprisingly good. It is one of the few Western thrillers that I actually enjoy and sat through in total silence so that I didn't miss anything. And the reason why I like it is Park Chan-wook's directing style is very similar to the way he directs his Korean films. So it feels very much like a Korean thriller, and I feel like if you enjoy Korean films or Korean thrillers, you will enjoy Stoker as well. And I really like it. It's got a really good story. It's got a really good ending that I'm not going to spoil here. And all of the actors in it, it's Nicole Kidman, Mia Wasikowska, and Matthew Good. They all do a really good job of portraying different levels of just crazy. So yeah, Stoker is my favorite thriller film. Favorite anime film? It's Akira! I feel like everyone says either Akira or Studio Ghibli film, but we will get on to Studio Ghibli as soon as I pull it out of the hat. So my favorite anime film is Akira. I love the animation. It is really fluid, it's really detailed, and I really like the ending sequence with Tetsuo and Kaneda. I think it's well worth the watch, and it's one of those movies that I normally end up craving. I'll sit down and I'll be like, I really want to watch Akira. Favorite horror film? I'm going to go out here and say I don't watch a lot of Western horrors, so my favorite horror film is an Asian horror. It is called A Tale of Two Sisters. It's another Korean horror film. So basically, it's about two sisters who return home from a mental hospital after their mother died and they were sent there, and their father has remarried and they have a new stepmother that they don't get on with, and maybe their house is haunted. Maybe it is just the cruel mind games that the stepmother is playing. Maybe it's their poor mental health. Maybe it's something more. It's very much a psychological horror. I don't want to say too much about it because if I say too much, I will spoil something, and I don't want to, because you do kind of have to experience it completely blind to start with. But it's one of those movies that it makes you think that something is going to happen, and then something else happens, and then maybe there's a ghost, maybe there's not a ghost, who knows? Favorite Studio Ghibli film? See, I told you we'd get on Studio Ghibli. So my favorite Studio Ghibli film is Spirited Away. I feel like that's the one everyone says, but I don't care. It is the first Studio Ghibli film that I ever watched. I love the animation as a whole. I love the story as a whole, and I just love Spirited Away. I'm very nostalgic for it, and it's very much something I grew up with and have always loved. Favorite foreign film? I really like I Saw the Devil. Again, this is a Korean thriller. It's not too gory. It is very much more of a psychological questioning of whether or not the main character is as bad as the villain. Basically what happens, and this is a bit spoilery, is the main character's fiance is killed, and then the main character hunts down the killer while progressively becoming worse and worse in what he's doing, and the movie very much explores who is really the monster here. And I really like that in my horror. I don't like too much gore or too much supernatural. I do like it to be more realistic and claustrophobic and insular rather than more of a big, grandiose Tokyo Gore Police style kind of horror. So yeah, that's why I like I Saw the Devil. Favorite sci-fi film? My favorite sci-fi film is Jurassic Park. It counts. It's got science in it, and it's fictional science, so it's science fiction. I loved dinosaurs growing up. Who didn't? And Jurassic Park came out at just the right time for me to be old enough to get it, but still young enough to be enamored with dinosaurs. I love the effects. I love how the effects in Jurassic Park sometimes look better than the effects in Jurassic World. I adore the music. The score for Jurassic Park is fantastic as well. We finally made it to the last one, which is action. I don't watch a lot of action films. I really don't know why I've put action on here. So I'm gonna go with Battle Royale. I'm sure that's an action film. It has action sequences in it. I love Battle Royale. I remember that it was on while I was in high school, and it was on really late, like on the TV, and loads of my friends stayed up to watch it, and they were all saying, oh, it's just a Hunger Games ripoff. And there was little old nerdy me like, actually, it was released before the Hunger Games, and they're kind of different anyway, but whatever. I don't know why that's my nerdy voice, but that's what I sounded like in high school, apparently. Battle Royale is just one of those movies that, as sick and twisted as it is, I love to watch it. I love the ending sequence. I really wish it didn't have a sequel, but yeah, Battle Royale is my favorite action film. Again, I don't really like a lot of action films. They tend to send me to sleep. Finally, we are at the end of this video. Please let me know some of your favorite movies in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And as always, you can join me next Friday at 8 for the next video.